Hi, I hope that you're doing well. I'm making this video to share a recording that I made earlier, a conversation that I had with a friend talking about creative ways to get through dealing with chronic pain, injury, suffering, struggle, depression, isolation, etc. And I think it may be helpful for some, so I want to share it. I hope that you can find some benefit from it. Thank you so much and take good care. I called, she answered the phone, and I heard some really beautiful guitar music playing in the background, and I said, "Oh, what's that music? That's so beautiful." "Oh, it's Hawaiian guitar music. I put it on sometimes. Have you ever been to Hawaii?" I said, "Yeah, I spent a little time there and it was beautiful. The air is soft and the time feels different, a little slower, and the water is so beautiful, and everything just seems to have a different quality to it." And she agreed. She knew what I was talking about, and that's the first creative tip that I want to give you for ensuring that your day, the length of time that we spend during the day, we're not always going to have to be proactive about tackling our struggles and doing what we need to do to take care of our bodies or the pain that we have or overcoming any sort of suffering. We're not doing that 24 hours a day. So the time in between, we can set up times where they're like action times. Like, I'm going to take this hour and I'm going to focus on things that I can do to help my situation. Whether it's talk to some sort of a professional, make an appointment, do a little research, and then after that's done, go into a mode where you can gather nourishment and help build your reserve so that you are not constantly in stress and panic and overwhelm mode. So like my friend was doing with the music, because she is experiencing an injury, chronic pain, depression, which are things I am as well very familiar with. She was taking great care of herself by playing this music, which sort of transported her to another type of experience. So the problems are still there and we can take a moment and address them. It's not like we're forgetting about them, but take a huge chunk of your day to not just numb out because you feel so overwhelmed. That doesn't actually provide nourishment. To create an environment where you have healthy things around you, tea, fruits, vegetables, water, peace, beautiful music. And I was telling her, yeah, I do the same thing. Sometimes I just feel like, oh, today I pretend that I'm in France. And I was in Western Europe. I spent about 10 months there, bicycling around different countries. And the feeling that I had in certain areas, especially in the south of France, was so beautiful that I carry that 20 years later, still that feeling. And whenever I want to nourish myself with that feeling, I just sort of tune in to that frequency. I think it's a beautiful way to provide soothing for yourself. It's really fun and creative too. I have this series that I want to work with that talks about courage, creativity, and contemplation, and how those three elements can dramatically enhance your life so that you have a more fulfilling experience while you're dealing with chronic pain, injury, depression, isolation, disconnection. So Just speaking about creativity, that's an incredibly creative way to help yourself. You can just imagine what it was like at that time when you did feel that opening and revelation and expansion feeling, and oh wow, that's so beautiful. You can just punch in that code. I want to feel that, and just you remember what it feels like and just feel that. I know we all listen to music, but intentionally listening to a certain type of music without words, without a certain pace, like a very calm, long, sort of beautiful embrace of music. The word embrace leads me to the next tool that I have for getting through this incredibly challenging journey that some of us are on. Sometimes I am in such a feeling of overwhelm because of my physical situation, because I have a spinal cord injury and I'm paralyzed, and it's 15 years now. I only can sit for certain periods throughout the day because I just have a lot of atrophy in my lower half of my body, and I can't comfortably stay sitting for very long, and it's very, very painful. And the grieving that I go through of the loss of my body is sometimes so intense that I have to separate myself from myself. I have to feel the other part of myself that's more connected to spirit and to the greater perspective, and sort of sit there and be with that part of myself almost as if it's a different person. Excuse me. Almost as if it's a different person. So I have my human Heather that's experiencing this tragedy and this pain, and this human, very ugly, painful side of a human experience that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. I have that part of me going through that, and all that she needs to express, and the grief and the sadness and the confusion. And then I have this loving presence that knows that this is temporary, that in the bigger picture, I am going through this situation, but it's not the end, that there is a spirit within me that's connected to something so much greater, that I am just not only a human experiencing this pain, I am also the larger. I am also everything. And when you get to be around trees and nature and birds and silence, you can rest, and to feel like that's what you are is so incredibly helpful. I know that's taken me a long time to get through, but it is my most powerful medicine. Sometimes I have pain, nerve pain, that's so incredible, that's so incredibly loud. And this is the next thing that we talked about. Sometimes I have pain that is so loud, like my legs and my nervous system around my abdomen and my hips is screaming like it's a 4-alarm fire. And how do I talk with people about that? So my friend on the phone, she said, gosh, I really don't talk to anyone about this because it's so hard to understand. And I know what she's saying, but to not talk about it, to not try and to talk about it, to not try and be creative in how we can weave it into conversations without overwhelming anyone, without scaring anyone, without asking anyone subconsciously for them, oh, how can I help them? Because I don't know how to help. But sometimes the help isn't what's needed. Sometimes if there isn't the help, sometimes the most helpful thing is just to be able to get it out. Just to be able to express what's really going on and not to pretend, because the false denial and the keeping up with a certain way so that we can get the needs of connection met is, when that's not really authentic and true, it's so painful, and we have to process that, and that just adds to our pain. So I was telling her how that sometimes at night when I'm sleeping, the pain, I can't sleep. It's like my body's screaming the whole time and I can't get comfortable. And something I learned from a therapist that I had recently, I was talking with her, telling her about this pain, and she said that when she gets overwhelmed with a feeling or an emotion, and it might help with pain, she's not sure, but she spells out a favorite quote or a song. And so what that does is it switches your brain to work in a different space, coming from a different space, and it overrides the other space, which has to do with the emotion and maybe pain. So I did try it out while I was having a very hard time. And there's a song that I learned in school. When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. So I took that song, and while I was laying there, I just was in pain, and I would go WHENYOU WALKTHROUGHASTORM, and then by forcing myself to stay on that mission to spell everything, every single word, get to the end and repeat it, it would take my focus off the pain and relieve it. So I want to give that tip to you, and I hope that you try it out when you're having an experience of overwhelm and see how it goes. Panic attack, pain attack, sadness. Just try it out. And then getting back to the part where I was talking about separating myself from myself to become like an internal or external loving, nourishing caretaker that would help me feel at ease as I'm going through such challenge. I would also, when I would get a sudden nerve pain that was just halted me, and I just couldn't believe how painful it was, sometimes drool would just start coming out of my mouth, like so incredibly painful. What I've started to do is separate myself from that when that happens. Instead of it taking me and having full control and power over me, I've had to come into this sort of like, oh, observing, like, wow, look at you, pain. Look at how powerful and loud you are. But I know that it's not going to be continuous. And so I'm just going to wait for you to play out, but you're not going to take control over me. And also I would say, wow, I can't believe that a person can endure this much pain. Like, separate yourself so you're not taken by it. And it's helped. It kind of is like, whoa, I'm turning myself sometimes into some sort of a, what I think I can do is just, all of these tips point to shifting. This word shifting, of altering your frequency, altering your perspective, altering your energetic state. And if you can do it on demand or more quickly than having to go through a long meditative practice to then experience something, I think through a lifetime of experiencing traumatic events and my childhood, learning how to, well, having no choice because it was so traumatic that I was leaving my body, and so that I wasn't experiencing it, and I don't remember a lot from that time, and so I'm used to it. And now that I'm dealing with such a challenging experience, I'm able to do it quicker. So when the pain comes, oh, I'm here, but I'm not here, and I'm observing it, and I can, it's not unhealthy disassociation. Shifting can be a great tool for all of us. So this video has gone on too long. Edgar's come here to tell me. Edgar, this is my baby boy, 11 years old. He has a little bit of arthritis now, and I'm giving him supplements, and I hope that it works. Thank you for making it through this video. If you've come this far, I really appreciate you being with me as I work on getting through learning how to communicate this courage, creativity, and contemplation that I have constantly running through myself to help me get through my experience. I want to share it, and I hope that you find some help in what I said and try it out. And take care. Thank you so much.